Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to build a simple terminal-based quiz application using Go programming language. So let's start by creating main.go file. Then we will start our main.go file with package main declaration at the top of our file as usual. Then we'll import two main standard libraries that we are already familiar working with. FMT for printing and taking the user input, and log just in case we have any errors and we need to handle those errors gracefully. Alright, that's that. Now we need some kind of data for our quiz. I'm going to create 3 global slices here, but I don't want to waste your time and type those questions and options manually here. That's why I'm going to copy paste those questions, options, and correct answers from the ready code. So let's paste that. First we have our questions, just a simple slice of strings. Those questions focus on different fields like geography, astronomy, history, math, and even programming. Of course, we had to include programming here because that would be sad if we didn't include programming. Then we have options. Each question is going to basically have 4 options that corresponds to that specific question. As you can see, I have separated those 4 options for each question nicely here with spaces. So for the first question, we have options like Moscow, Paris, London, and Delhi. The correct answer here is Paris, of course, you know that very well. Then we have other options for other questions as well. Then finally, we will store the correct answers here as integers. These numbers represent the rank, like the rank of the correct choice. So 2 means the second option is correct. Pay attention that I'm storing answers in a form of 1 based indexation, not 0 based, of course. But later on in our program, when we need that, I will be turning 1 based indexation into 0 based indexation. So that is not going to be very problematic because I can subtract 1 from that to get 0 based indexation to match the programming language's desire. Now let's jump right into the main function. So func main here. We'll start with a quick welcoming message to make it look nice. FMT print line, well, in uppercase, welcome to quiz app with exclamation mark, and after that I'm going to add those equal signs to separate my welcoming message from the actual quiz program. To keep track of the score of the user, I will initialize a variable called correct to 0 at the beginning. So 0. Now here is the heart of the program, a for loop. We're going to use a range to iterate through our questions, and it is going to give me the index of the current question and the current question itself. So range questions. In most of the previous projects that we have implemented, we were ignoring this index because in those cases we didn't really need that index. But in this case, in this specific case, we really need that index. That index is very crucial for us to get current questions options correctly and the correct answer for the current question. That's why we have to grab that index from this range as well. Inside the loop, first things first, let's print the question itself. So we can say just print line question simply because that question is of type string. Then we need to show the 4 possible answers for this question. I'm going to use another nested loop here for I in range 4. As I said, I will have 4 options for each question. That's why I have specified here 4 instead of any other number. Then we need to say here printf. I will be using printf to display formatted output. Then this d here indicating the current options number and the option itself, then new line character after that. Now for the number of that option, I'm going to say I plus 1. That I is 0 based indexing, so initially it is going to be set to 0, but we want our first option to start from 0 and to go on to higher values. That's why I am saying +1 here to correct that. After that, I have to grab my option in a nice, clever way. For that, I'm going to say option slice at the index of this index of the current question multiplied by 4, because we have 4 possible options for each question. Then that number plus I. This I is the current index of the option. Alright, that's that. That is going to give us all 4 options for each question. Once the options are on the screen, we use fmt.scanLine to grab the user's answer. For that, let's say answer to prompt the user to enter the answer. Then I'm going to store my answer in this variable called answer of type integer. Then if underscore error equals to fmt scan line, scan whole line into this answer. If that resulted in an error, that is going to result in an error if and only if user types in some kind of non-decimal input, non-decimal answer. So if that is the case, I want to say log.fatal_ln and say invalid option. That fatal ln, as we have talked about numerous times in previous projects, is going to output that error message and terminate the program right after that. Now we just need to check if they got this question right. We compare their answer to the value in the correct answers at the index of this current question. So that is very easy. If answer equals to correct answers at the index of this index. If that is the case, I'm going to say fmt print line correct message to indicate the user that they got this question correctly, that they answered this question correctly. And after that, I want to increment my correct score by 1. If that is not the case, we want to tell the user that they were wrong. So let's say print line wrong exclamation mark. Now this is a nice touch that we want to add. We want to show them exactly what the correct answer was by looking it up in our options slice. For that, we have to use this very scary math statement here as well. So that is going to be inside of printf, correct answer was this string and new line character. That string is going to be our options at the index of this index of the current question multiplied by 4 plus correct answers at this specific index and minus 1. That is going to give us the actual correct answer of the current question. That's that. That operation is going to work fine. And after the current iteration, I want to display those dashes for decoration purposes. Alright, for just nice visuals. Finally, after that for loop finishes, we want to print out the final result. So fmt print f, then correct, and say d/d. We want to show the correct count, how many questions the user has got correctly, and the total number of questions that were in our quiz. So let's say correct and questions dot length, len of questions in other form. And that's it, a functional quiz app in about 60 lines of code in pure Go programming language. Let's save this file and give it a run. Open up your terminal and say go run main.go. Our approach was similar to the previous project. If you have watched that, we didn't create a module for our project. We right away went to our main.go file. That's why we cannot say go run dot, because we don't have any module created for this program. That's why we have to specify here directly the Go file that we want to run. So let's say go run main.go, and we should have the quiz. Alright, the first question is being asked here. what is the capital of France? The capital of France is, of course, Paris, and it says correct here. The next question is, which planet is known as the red planet? The Earth. Let's hit enter, and it says here, of course, wrong. And look at that, it prints out the actual correct answer here. The correct answer here was Mars. The red planet is Mars. Then the next question that we have here is the end year of World War II. Let's assume that I do not know history at all, and I don't know when the World War II has finished. So my answer would be here, the second one, 1944, but the actual answer here, 1945. So let's hit enter, and it says the correct answer was 1945, and I have got this wrong. And next up we have this simple math problem. Here, a very beginner guy in math, a very newbie guy, would say that the result of this statement is 8, because they would add 2 to 2, and they would get 4 afterwards. Then after that, multiply that 4 by 2 and get the answer of 8, but that is totally wrong. A person with minimal math knowledge would know operation precedence in math and would know that 2 multiplied by 2 should be calculated first, then we have to add 2 to that result. So the answer here would be 6, which is the first one. So let's hit enter, and we have it correct. Then the last question in our quiz is related to programming. Who is the founder of Python? The founder of Python is, of course, Guido van Rossum. The Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. Linus Torvalds is founder of Linux. And finally, Dennis Ritchie is the founder of the C programming language. That's why those last 3 options are invalid here. So let's enter 1, and that's correct. At the end, we have this simple overview of our quiz game performance. We have got 3 questions correct out of 5, which is totally correct. And let's close this terminal, and that is how you implement a simple quiz application in Go programming language. If you liked this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.